every opportunity we can to be with you, to interact with you, to share with you various things going on at the Real Estate Commission. And as the feeling is mutual, we value our relationship with all of you, and of course want to do whatever we can to maintain and enhance that relationship. For those of you who don't know me, I am Melissa Gall, the Executive Director of the Real Estate Commission, and I have today with me Deputy Director Heather Henrys and our Education Specialist Heidi Saliba. And so when Guy asked, you can just talk about anything you need to communicate with ARA, well, of course, I'd love to talk about wholesaling, fraudulent sellers, transaction coordinators, because I know you would like to hear from us on that. There's something right now that sticks in our craw, and I'm not old or what sticks in our craw, but something that we are continue year after year. This is my 5th year with the commission, and it just never seems to get better this time of year. And that is the maintenance of licenses. And now when we talk with ARA, generally I know we are talking to the choir, because all of you probably maintain your licenses, you pay your renewal fee on time, you do your CE on time, and that's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. However, those sinners who don't do that on time can affect you as well. Because what happens when you have a closing or a transaction happening in January and the agent on the other side of the transaction has not taken care of their license? That impacts you just as much as it does that licensee who did not take that. So we're here today to talk about that, to really, we want to partner with ARA to help us find solutions. And it negatively impacts all of us. And at AREC, I don't know if you realize, when we are fully staffed, we have 15 staff members. I have 1 to 2 staff members dedicated to licensing, well, actually 3, but 2 that are actively engaged in transfers, activations, renewals, and those 2 staff members are brand new this year. In addition, again, I'm whining here, I know, but we lost a 15-year veteran of our department who was speedy on those. So, again, as I say, no one is ever mad when they do it early or do it on time. No one. And so, again, we want to talk to you today about, in January, again, January we have 2 holidays, which again slows down processing. This year we had unprecedented inclement weather, which closed our office for 5 days. And so, as you can imagine, tempers get a little short, because once your license is not fully renewed as of December 31st, it becomes a manual process. And there are a variety of reasons for that, and I'll talk about that a little more. But Deputy Director Henrys is going to give you the numbers of sinners who did not take care of their license renewal. And again, it negatively impacts all of us. And so we've tried several things. Statutorily, we are only required to notify licensees one time, and that's on July 15th. However, we take other measures such as a newsletter, we have it in our email signatures, we try a variety of things. The commission has instructed me not to be an enabler. last year I spent basically several $1,000s sending out notices the month of December, just because our numbers were so high at that point. And I've been told in no uncertain terms, do not do that. Do not spend our money on doing something that every licensee should know they have to do. So, with that being said, we did not send out notices. We did send out an email blast in middle of December as a reminder. Sadly, it didn't have a big impact on those who, for one reason or the other, elected not to get their renewals done on time. So we are here to look at solutions. And so I'm going to talk about some of that in just a little bit, but just to show you the impact to all of us, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Director Henrys to tell you, to show you the numbers and show you the difficulties that we face in taking care of the renewals and activations this time of year.
So before I flip to the next slide, how many of you know how many licensed agents we have currently in the state of Arkansas?
16 now.
Oh, close, very close. So we currently have, as of February, 15,619, and this is the 5-year comparison. And so you'll notice that each year in February, we have increased for 4 years, and then this year we're a little over 100 less than the previous year. But the last time we had a higher number than this year was 1989, when we had 16,000. And each month, the commissioners will look at those licensing statistics. They look at how many active and inactive licenses there are, and they change month to month and year to year. And so every month, they say, well, when was the last time we had this many licensees? And consistently, it's right around 89 and 90. And so think about these numbers as we look at the next screen, because these are our end of year realities. These are active licensee numbers. So December, we had 400,886 active brokers, 9,675 active salespeople, for a total of 14,561. Jump to February. See the decline in terms of numbers. Instead of 14,561, we had 13,345. The biggest impact to that are people who did not renew or did not do their continuing education on time. We had 1,089 brokers, that's PBs, EBs, ABs, that did not renew their license by December 31st. Those are brokers. So we had a total of 2,200 licensees who did not renew on time, and that may be on purpose for some of them. They may be getting out of the industry. In another few months, we'll be able to look at that number again and say, okay, the bulk of people who intended to be active have now renewed. The rest of them are just getting out of the business for a while. That is fine. But we also had 81 brokers who didn't do their CE. 427 salespeople who did not do their CE and reported on time. So if you add those two numbers together, that's 2,700 licensees who were not compliant January 1, that our office really has to dig in with. We have to send out letters. We send out letters to the licensee and to their principal broker. And then the phone calls start. So if you look at how our process worked this year, we sent out expiration letters the week before Martin Luther King holiday. And so those expiration letters hit mailboxes and our phones started blowing up. And then we had a week of snow. And there were those of us, like myself, like Heidi and Melissa and several other members of our staff, that were working remote. I was processing money mail from my living room, answering emails, answering calls. We tried to keep up with entering the mail as it came in. We tried to keep up with some of the processing just to avoid as much of the backlog as possible. But think about 2,700 people who did not get their credits or their renewal done and reported to us by the end of the year. And then think about the number of phone calls that our office has received. And so specifically, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi. She's going to talk a minute about CE credits and the impact of those CE credits and when we see people taking their education. And you're going to love these numbers. So Heidi, I'm turning it over to you.
So, as you can see, the first 11 months of the year, people who take their CE on time before the last minute counts for about 23,400. That's individual courses, so one person took 3 courses, they finished up, okay? In the month of December, 11,500, but those last 2 days at the finish line, 2675. So I have a couple things to say about this. The first is, one of the most common complaints or gripes we get from people who fall into that last line are, I did my CE on time and the CE shop was supposed to report it. Okay, they're not required to. It is not their responsibility. Even if somebody says, I will report it for you, there's a couple of things. They don't have to. All that they have to do is give you a certificate of completion. And even if they say they're going to, it is still each licensee's responsibility to make sure that we have received it on time. A lot of people decided that they were going to use New Year's Eve to do their CE starting at 6 p.m. just before the party. And their CE may have arrived, but it came in January 1st at 1:02 a.m. That person is now inactive because they didn't meet the deadline, okay? And as Melissa said, no one has ever called angrily because they finished on time. I would like to note that throughout the year, we work very hard. We have a wonderful team. Everybody pitches in when one person is burdened more than normally. But throughout the year, all post-license education, all continuing education has been caught up all of the time, up till December 15th even though there was an onslaught the first 2 weeks of December. When I left the second Friday of December, everything had been processed. Everything, including the papers that we received in the mail. And so the last 2 weeks, we still were able to keep up, but when people wait till the last minute, several things happen. First of all, we see a lot of people who get nervous and they will send it in 3 times to me, to the AREC LIC box, to Melissa Goff, to Heather Henrys.
Everybody listed on the staff.
Yes. And if we don't respond within an hour, then they'll have their broker send it to all the people. And then if they don't respond within an hour, they might start calling. And so
I promise it wouldn't. It's like selling real estate. It's
yes. And so aside from the fact that it causes delays for everybody, it negatively impacts the people who do things on time. It goes beyond workloads and stress levels and scheduled holidays and unscheduled weather problems. The real issue, the reason we like to see people do this not before the 5-yard line is because of the quality. If you're waiting until the very end, you're already stressed, you're just shopping for what can I get the fastest to check the box, most likely. We put a lot of thought and effort and energy into creating and encouraging quality educational submissions that truly enhance real estate agents and their brokers' knowledge, capability, and professionalism. when I review submissions for courses, even if they are courses that have been active for 15 years, I'm looking at those with a fine-tooth comb. Number one, are they on our approved topic list? Number two, has the instructor truly thought about the method of delivery so that when somebody pays their money and invests their time, they're getting quality for it? And when you're waiting till the last couple of weeks or the last couple of days, you really lose that opportunity to enjoy the education and to really get what it's meant to do. So when we see 37% of the continuing education of the entire year completed in the last month, it concerns me from a quality standpoint because we're doing this so that the citizens of Arkansas have the best opportunity to be knowledgeably informed and guided through their processes. One final note that I'd like to throw in, this is just for free. Something that we have seen even recently, it's getting better. Post-license education does not count for CE. CE does not count for post-license education. They're not the same. I'm still getting people telling me, well, my broker told me that because I did my post-license, I don't have to do CE. That's not necessarily true. It depends on exactly when they're licensed. It is entirely possible that someone will have to do both PLE and CE in the same year, and the timing of those is important. And that's not why we're here today. I'm not going to get into the weeds, but if you have questions or need clarity, I already have an at-a-glance infographic put together. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but just please know that there were a number of people who at the end of the year turned in PLE thinking that that met their CE, and it didn't. And so those are avoidable issues that we have.
All right. Thank you, Heidi. So now we have more fabulous numbers for you. So these are the numbers of documents that the AREC received in the month of January. 184 applications, 161 score reports. The score reports are the documents that you turn in after you pass your test. 161 transfers. Real estate agents were moving around a lot in January. 66 activations, 339 renewals. 339 renewals in 1 month. And licensees are calling us asking when their paperwork is going to be done. 339 with a staff of 3 in licensing. Now there's a couple of things that people have said, and I know Melissa's going to touch on this a little bit more. We've had people who have volunteered to come help us because obviously we need it. We have had people who've said, you need to automate this. Guess what? It's automated if you do it on time. If you do it on time, it's like 3 clicks and you pay it and you're done.
It's so simple.
Okay? We have had people that have said, you really need to completely redesign your renewal system, the renewal deadlines. You need to make this easier for us. 339 people who are calling us, emailing us. And I'm going to say this because I know I'm preaching to the choir, but people are also watching. If you are a broker and you are meeting with your licensees and they submitted their paperwork on January the 30th and they're calling on February the 6th wondering why we haven't done it yet, remind them that they need to be professional with us. Our licensing staff deals with angry calls, and we know everybody's frustrated. They want to get their check. They want to be able to do business. They want to do all of those things. If they took it that seriously in July, they would not have to be panicking in January. But the level of a lack of professionalism that we experience from licensees during the months of January and February is really disheartening. We know that they're frustrated. We know that they're panicked. They can't do business. We understand that. But we do not think it is appropriate for them to call and cuss out our staff or call us stupid or slow. because we're not. Quite honestly, our staff are doing an amazing job. They are working incredibly hard. They are answering 100 phone calls a day. They're responding to emails. They're doing their dead level best to get all of this processed. We need brokers and licensees and supervisors of offices to remind folks that when they're reaching out to us, we're partners in this with you all. We are your partners. We need you to treat us like a partner. And I know someone said ahead of time that, we're so used to everything being automated that, well, if you just click and it's done, yes. If you do it in December, if you do it in July, it is for your renewal, it is click, done. But one of the important things to keep in mind is in January when we're processing renewals, one of the reasons why we have it on paper is because we want your broker to have the opportunity to say, I still want this person in my office, even though they didn't take care of their stuff on time. I'm willing to take them back on in January. And they have to sign that form just like the licensee does. So it's not the same thing, it's just, oh, well, I just need to pay my payment. No, your broker has the responsibility to say, yes, I'm still willing to be responsible for this person. The other thing that I wanna mention while we're talking about this is, and Heidi mentioned this when we have that panic at the end of the year, we have a roster on our website. It tells you whether or not you've renewed your license, and it tells you whether or not your CE is on the website, or is in our system. We are looking at some ways of making sure it's a little more clear for those students who don't need, or those licensees who don't need education.
Thank you.
Because we know that that's confusing for those folks, and they're like, well, I took PELE, do I need my CE? I don't know, and it's not sure, and it says no on the website, what do I do? So we are working on that issue. But especially for the renewals, everyone can look on the website. Whether you're active or inactive, we upgraded our roster last year to include active and inactive and pending renewal on our website. So you can go on at any point in the year and see what your current license status is and when your expiration date is. So with all that in mind, now is the fun part. We need to talk about some pivot points. We want to have some suggestions and solutions from you all about how we engage and encourage some change, both on the part of the licensees and on the part of AREC, and what are some valuable, possible changes we can make. And we know there are some people who are always going to take their education in the last 24 hours of the year. We know that. But we want to get some ideas from you all about how we encourage people to really shop for their education, shop earlier in the year. Don't just click at the last minute and go, oh, I'll take whatever. Actually look for valuable education, get their renewals done on time, get everything turned into us. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, and she's going to talk about this next part about getting some ideas from you all.
And I want to, again, let everyone know, our staff, we have a tremendous staff who work very hard to serve everyone. And I know some tempers are short, and sometimes that falls back. Our staff, when they take some criticism, their tempers may get short. We work very hard to try to keep everybody supported and that sort of thing. But I do want to let you know, we have a legislative directive. Nobody moves to the front of the line. So sending us gift cards or and you don't move to the front of the line. We have a strict directive. We process in the order it's received. Even if you have a closing in 2 days, we still process in the order received. So again, and there are three suggestions that I don't want to hear. Automate. You need better automation. There are reasons I'm not going to go into that is not a possibility. Hire more staff. Can't do it. I have we have legislation that restricts the number of staff that we have. Let me come in and volunteer. We can't let you, just any member of the public have access to some confidential information. And change your deadlines. You know, maybe you need a rolling deadline so that everybody, you know, maybe so-and-so state does it on everybody's birthday. Well, that rolling deadline, having a different deadline would just, to me, create more chaos and more confusion. So I am not willing to entertain those 4 things. But I'd like to hear some best practices, how we can encourage, motivate, and just try to alleviate this problem. And I'm glad Heidi said what she did about, you know, we really want your CE to be valuable. Our chair has said we want it to be an investment in your profession, not an expense. And I'll tell you, this year I had a rather shocking situation. A longtime broker decided she had never done the CE shop, she had always done classroom. Okay, I'm just going to spill it. She could not pass the CE shop's assessments for the ethics course, and therefore did not meet that December 31st deadline for her CE. And again, that is one instance, but that's what can happen when you wait until December 31st. CE shop, I know that's everybody's favorite last minute place to go, but you still have to pass assessments in order to be able to progress through those courses. So fast and easy isn't always advantageous. And again, as Heidi mentioned, it is not anybody's responsibility to make sure the CE is turned in except the licensee. Because CE shop, they have people hand entering CE as it's completed. They make mistakes. We're very grateful that they do that for licensees because, again, you saw by those numbers, if we had 11,000 courses to input those last few weeks of the year, it would put us at a severe disadvantage in processing. So we're very grateful. We have a couple of online providers that don't report CE to us, never have, and licensees say, well, I thought they were going to do it for me. That's not an excuse, and you don't get a pass when you depend on someone else. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up, and some of you could perhaps tell us some of your best practices, make suggestions for those listening remote. We'd love it if you would email one of us some suggestions. Again, those things that I talked about are not an option, they're not on the table, but I'd really love to hear some best practices.
I hate to focus on a negative aspect of it, but what we did at Greater Central, which was formerly North Pulaski, we had such a large number of renewals that we had to make the penalizations more steep. Because of the man hours required on the input by Brianna, who was a staff of 1, and had a part-time assistant, the workload was overwhelming, and the responses, as you said, very unprofessional behaviors on what should be our most esteemed professionals. And so we increased it to where it was more painful. And I hate to say that, but because I wish it was more of a positive turn on it. We did receive a more positive response after the first year. And I'm curious to see what this year, we installed it last December.
And so was this the board or your firm?
Our board, I'm sorry if I didn't say, our local board, because we were seeing it, and we just said, that's ridiculous, and we cannot keep allowing this. and encouraging that behavior, so.
Well, AREC has statutory authority to issue citations and sanctions when people do not renew on time. We've done that a few years ago. That just further negatively impacts our relationship with licensees. And so again, that's not an action that we relish taking at AREC. And we did not find that it had much impact the following years. But anyway, if you out in the field helping us that way
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
very helpful.
So, about June, which is about midway, I get a list together of everyone that's in our office, and I send them out a thing that's half the year's gone, let's get CE going. And so I follow that through. I use the roster all the time, and I mark them off if the roster says, even though I asked them also to give me their CE certificate, which I put digitally in their folder that I have for them, and then I also send it in to AREC, and then I watch the roster to make sure it comes up. So I've got all that going. So at the end of this year, and of course, all of us have those that, they do. They just wait till it's like, stop, come on. But this year, I had a further problem, and I would like to ask you if you can make that change. Is that I had everybody CE, everything was yes, except for, like you said a while ago, was the one that did a post, and I was told they didn't have to do a CE, but it never says yes or anything, and that always worries me. However, what happened after the first year is that one of the agents had their CE, but they hadn't renewed their license. And, we found out that after the first year, and I went back and we checked it, and they called, and they said, the person at AREC said, I can see where you went in and had done something in there, but it didn't complete. So before the end of the time for licensure renewal, they had gone in and tried to do it and thought they had, but it never completed. So what I would like to see is on the roster is have another place, one for CE and one for license renewal by the end of September.
So the license renewal, on the roster, it has your expiration date, and once you renew, it shows the new date.
Yes.
And so, and I know that sometimes it is, people glance at it and they just see December 31st and they don't pay attention to the year. But once somebody has renewed, it will, like this year, once we open renewals, once they renew, it will change from 2026 expiration date to 2027. So that is something that you can check on your roster for folks and make sure that the year on the expiration column is showing the next year, because that will indicate that they've renewed and that it's fully processed.
And you're exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
I look at that roster all the time, but not knowing that does change,
Gotcha.
I've
Okay.
never known to actually look.
Okay. So we can do some more education about that column and make sure that folks are checking that column.
Susan?
Well, not everyone has the best broker in the whole wide world, just saying, okay? But 100% of your complaints come from lack of broker supervision, correct? So what if we made a module for the brokers in their education for 1 hour of license renewal? Just a thought. And I know adding hours to CE is near impossible, but I mean, everybody needs to have a little bit of that, even the sales agents.
Good
Are you
thought.
suggesting that you had the best broker in the
Uh-huh.
world? Oh.
Have, not had.
Yeah. You had it as in the possession.
Have.
I was curious.
And
Just wanted to clarify that.
And I want to tell Miss Heidi, thank you very much for, at the end of the year, you know, my dad came to me and he said, I'm not renewing this year. And I emailed and reached out, because I guess we got the newsletter, and there was a new law passed last year. If you're 72 years old, you don't have to have CE, you just have to fill out a exemption requirement. And literally one day after Dad told me that, I saw that. I was able to walk him through, get the exemption filed, completed, and I have 3 agents in my office that are qualified for that this year, so we'll.
Not me.
Soon, no,
Come on, 72.
I just wanted, it was all email, very cordial, and very, very grateful for that process, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And that,
Yeah.
and the thing to remember on that exemption for 72-year-olds, if you are a broker, if you are a principal broker or an executive broker, not only do you have to meet all of those requirements of not being late on CE, not being late on renewal, no disciplinary action, but the licensees under you also have to meet those. So hopefully that will be a good incentive for
Yeah.
brokers to make sure their licensees are.
And if I could just add one thing, I appreciate you bringing that up. Something that may not be commonly known, a bit of a misperception. The legislation, it doesn't automatically mean if you're 72 or older that you can stop doing CE. There is an application for the waiver that has to be reviewed and approved. I've had a couple of calls from people saying, well, my license is inactive, but I'm 72, I don't have to do this anymore. And then I explain, there's a form, it's on our forms page, I'll send it to you, but it's not automatic. So I appreciate you bringing up that point.
There's another requirement too,
What?
about the realtors that are under you that
Right.
have to be compliant.
Right.
Yes, right.
And 25 years of active consecutive licensure. So anybody who has, again, not done the things we talked about today, that takes a year away from your 25 years of service. So again, an important part of that. Yes, ma'am.
25 years, can part of that be in another state?
And I'd have to look at the legislation, but I believe it specifies
Arkansas
Arkansas active.
I would just suggest getting that application in sooner than December 22nd.
Yes. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes, please, because again, that requires a whole
Yeah.
lot of checking.
Clearly, they're busy the last 2 weeks of December.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
made it happen, and thankfully our office is small, and I knew we had, there was a slim chance. Rick is our managing broker, I know he keeps us in line even meeting. So very grateful for that, but yeah, thankful for that. And Bart didn't know about it either, so Bart will participate this year.
And it is important to keep that in mind, like when renewal season kicks off, you can go ahead and submit that. And let your licensees know about that, because it is not automatic. They do have to make the request, and we do have to check it.
Well, and I don't think that no matter what you do or what we do, it's what the broker does. Because agents follow the broker. And if it's important to the broker and the broker lets them know, you have to do this, you can't work here if you're not going to do that, they will be a lot more apt to get things done on time. So it's really the brokers who need to be encouraged.
Yeah.
Which that goes back to what Susan was saying, have additional education.
I think that's very
Yeah, I
good.
think
Just
we
require
transferred
it,
him to
like
an
it's
associate broker instead of an
subset.
executive broker too.
That's
just to
right, you are.
Not have to worry about that in the future.
Well, and how many of you, and I know Rick said that he does this, but in terms of talking to other brokers, do you know of other firms that, I know one principal broker I talked to a couple weeks ago said if they haven't done their CE by the 25th, I send their license in and I make them inactive. So if they haven't proven by X date, their license is just sent in. Have you all heard of brokers taking that type of action?
No, but it's a good idea.
I mean, again, the penalties seem to work. Not encouraging,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is the
Well, we
same
have a
person
good
who needed to be
relationship with
shot
our
in order to go
agents.
work out.
I'm honest.
I'm sorry,
I mean, we communicate with our agents and, we're having that conversation and they're, you know, I think we've had one agent that waited till that late this year or last year. And we all know who it was. She's not here right now.
We all know.
But that's just who she is but she's like, I'm doing it, I'm signed up, I've got it.
So we're ready to go to jail.
Yeah.
but yes, you would, I can tell you. a
There's an
lot.
expectation that we're all on it and we're gonna provide accountability, and yes, I'm aware that I've gotta get it done.
Yeah, and again, I can tell lots of stories about reasons licensees don't do their CE before the end of December. You know, some family member inadvertently gets, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but terminal illnesses seem to increase the
In the
last
month of
couple of weeks of December,
Some people
family
work better
members,
under
so.
That
I'm not
just needs
trying
to
to
be
make,
moved.
I'm not trying to make fun of or negate that, but it's just
Yeah.
It's
interesting
amazing.
that happens.
Yes.
Forgive my ignorance, when does renewal season kick off and what percentage, however small, of licensees renew right away?
So the renewal season kicks off July 15th every year. Renewal deadline is September 30th. You expire after December 31st. And there are still some firms who tell their agents, the deadline's the deadline, you get it done by the end of September.
And there's a late fee.
There is a
after
late
September.
fee after December 30th.
And after September 30th.
Oh, yes, after September 30th, there's a fee increase, and then the license expires after December 31st. I did not pull the numbers in terms of who renews during that first, like, say, month. That would be an interesting number to get.
But you can renew your license before you have continuing ed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's that
You
September
don't have to
30th.
do them
Right, so like,
simultaneously.
if the CE was required to be by September 30th as well, I mean, it's, the two deadlines is probably causing some of the issues. They say, I renewed my license already, I'm good. Well, your CE hasn't been done, you gotta get that done. You know,
Again,
most of us try to get it done earlier in the year versus later in the year, before September 30th.
and changing deadlines
Yeah.
requires a statutory, a
Sure.
legislative change. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Because I've had that suggestion several times, well, just change the legislation. I don't really know that changing deadlines will make a big impact for procrastinators. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't expect it to. Susan?
One question. And you probably don't pay attention to this, but is the staff more a realtor or is it a real estate agent that falls into the lane?
We don't have stats
Okay.
on who is a Realtor member, but about, 2/3, roughly, somewhere between 2/3 and 70% are Realtor members. But we don't have we don't have a record of that in our system, so we don't know.
So if we increase or not increase, but require the module for brokers to do 1 hour of license renewal, that would cover all
Right. Yeah.
licenses.
And I think you had
Well, I was just gonna point out on a little bit more of a positive note, and not every organization, company, or board can, but I'm from Hot Springs, and for a number of years, we've had a board-wide CE, February, March. We've had, either Dale or Maurice come and talk. And we get 2/3 probably of our agents that attend that, and so it's a group thing, you can get it all knocked out in one day, and it is in person, so it's a positive of really learning something. And we're late this year to get it announced, and I already have seen some of the offices in Hot Springs that have done it within their office.
Mhm.
This is just within, So, and I know that not everybody can afford to do that or can, but I think that promotes everybody to do it, and you're all sitting in there, you're killing one day all together, you know, it gets it knocked out, definitely by, you know, February, March, April. You're not gonna get everybody, I know, but if that could be something that could be an idea driven out, I don't know if everybody's, you know, across the state, maybe offices don't realize that they can, or boards can.
Right. I like that. That is a very positive,
It is.
encouraging brokers to schedule CE for their firm. That's a really good idea.
That's how we do it, and then our board also,
Yeah.
at least 3 times a year.
Yeah.
We have a board-wide CE that
Mhm.
availability.
Yeah.
Just gives them another avenue versus having to try to go online and do it.
Right.
And they're gonna learn more, you know,
You're
it's
with your
interaction.
peers, and it's, yes, more of a fun day.
Mhm.
You know, we used to have some roundtable discussions, a lot of times at the February and June ARA meetings. We'd get AREC and brokers together and just discuss things. And, you know, we've known for years that one of our nemesis is that brokers who can become a broker in 2 years, a lot of them don't know what they're doing or care. And so their agents, they don't know that they're not doing things right. And it's one of the things that's bothered us for years. But one of the things that helped a few years ago was when AREC did a road show and went to different parts of the state and brought in not only brokers, but salespeople. And you know, when you're talking about all the people that didn't get things done, you think, well, the broker should have told them. Well, what if we have a group like we did in the road show where we're talking directly to the agents? That could help that situation a lot. Now, I know, you know, it cost a lot and to do that, but it really meant a lot to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, because we really do enjoy getting out and visiting the local boards. Sometimes the bigger firms will ask us to come out. We do welcome every opportunity. We don't want to push ourselves out on the boards, but we love every opportunity. And I believe, I don't know whether other boards, but I know NABOR, they are having what they call broker collectives or broker meetings. But agreed, we need to get to the salespeople as well. But those have been very valuable meetings for us to be able to get directly to the brokers as well.
I don't know if you're able to do this, but it would be interesting, kind of piggybacking on what Susan said, to see if there is a certain area of Arkansas that you have these late people, where is there a certain area, you know, certain dynamic, are they smaller offices, are they bigger offices, that kind of thing. It would be interesting to know what that layout looks like. That might help us narrow in on a better solution.
Agreed. We can look at that.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're close on time, aren't we, Guy?
4 minutes.
Okay. And Guy said he wanted to give y'all a chance to ask us questions. So,
So we see what you did here. 4 minutes.
Yes, I would like to invite y'all to our professional development meeting on Monday, February 16th, which is Monday,
mm-hmm.
at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And if you want to speak, I'll be glad to let you have the podium. I would like to mention this about you all coming today and encourage our professional development committee to go out and spread the word about
Thank you for
licensure.
that.
So,
Yes, we'd be delighted.
it's in Jonesboro. I
Yeah.
think you'll be there, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 10 o'clock.
Okay,
Love you.
thank you. Thank you for that. Any other questions or anything, even other topics might catch us off guard, but if you have any other questions or any comments you'd
I
like
know we
to-
may not, I'm sorry, I know we may not have the time allotted to do this, but I, for one, would love some time, maybe when y'all are in Jonesboro, but would love to hear in addition to the licensure issue, or renewals, are constant issues that you're seeing. I mean, you highlighted it just
Yeah.
briefly, the wholesaling, et cetera, but I would love to know, and I'm sure other brokers would as well.
I'd like to hear what you have to say about transaction coordinators.
That is a new and evolving issue, not
Yep.
only in our state, but other states are very.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for the non-adversarial, collaborative relationship that we continue to maintain as ARA and the Real Estate Commission. It's just,
It's so
we
important. to
appreciate it.
us. Yeah.
None of us are scared to call you and ask you
Yeah.
questions.
And we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, because again, we do value our relationship with all of our licensees. Again, we're all on the same team. We want a vibrant real estate community. It benefits all of us. So thank you for that. And again, we want to thank ARA for continuing to include us and all of you for being so wonderful to work with. We appreciate you so much, and you have our phone numbers, email, call us anytime. Again, thank you so much.
And thank you to you guys. We really appreciate it. They didn't hesitate when I said, hey, we'd love for you all to come talk about whatever you want to talk about. They said, we'll be there. We're going to talk about this. And that's what you did. So thank you. And thanks for sharing that data, those numbers. That's fascinating. And thanks to y'all for showing up. Come next month, second Wednesday of every month, we'll have something. Next month, we're going to be talking about AI with Joshua Suarez, who I've heard him give that presentation. I think we've all heard him give that presentation at the Educators Retreat. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. I made popcorn because I found this popcorn machine in the closet. I shined it up. Nobody's eating popcorn. Please go get a bag of popcorn.
Get
Thank
some
you all.
popcorn.
Lord.
Thank you.